following episode of Death Stranding is basically going to be an audiobook. So we're reading through the files. So we're going to have some fun discussions. And we're going to talk about the files we're reading. And we're going to, reflect on what they mean. But there's not going to be a whole lot of trucking in this episode. So do bear that in mind as you continue on through this LP. Thank you very much for your patronage.
All right, what's on the terminal?
I wanted to... No, I guess I can do it from here. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Well, I definitely want to... We have to catch up on some of this reading, and then we need to get out of here so that I have the ability to adventure after we're done.
Okay.
So, let's get to it. Starting from where we left off. Excuse me. Here.
Okay. Thomas Sutherland, you're an inspiration. Sam, I owe you an apology. In my last mail, I made it sound like you were on the fast track to becoming obsolete. Guess I was caught up in my excitement over that delivery bot. Maybe I didn't let it show so much, but I was glad to find you on our doorstep again. Seriously. Sure, the bots are useful and less risky, but that doesn't mean we don't still need guys like you. If anything, we need you now more than ever. You're a symbol, an inspiration. When people see you risking your neck for the rest, they have something to aspire to. I'm not saying that everybody should charge off into the wilderness, of course, but I think you're a great example of how we can work towards a better future. People need that. Hell, I need that. All right, Thomas, as long as you can keep moving forward.
Sam, thanks again. You've done a great deal to keep things ticking here at the weather station, which we do appreciate. And the Chiral Network, it's incredible. If you can continue to expand coverage with the Cupid, won't be long before we'll have real-time tracking of meteorological phenomena over the continent. We won't have much of an idea what's going on elsewhere, but there's not a whole lot we can do about that. And while I may be chasing rainbows, I still hope we could get a view from above the clouds one day. It's crazy. No one knows what happened to the rest of the world even now. Maybe the Stranding destroyed everything except America. Maybe we're the only ones shrouded in the clouds of chiral matter, and the rest of the world is carrying on without us. Or maybe the whole damn universe got wiped out and we're all that's left floating in space. Alright, that last one's just me being a pessimistic ass, but the point stands. We need to know what's out there, and to do that, we need you to bring the whole continent into the network. You're our best hope, Sam. Our only hope, in fact.
Engineer, yours is a true calling. I think I mentioned it before, but I was born in this shelter, grew up here. My parents are long gone now, but they taught me everything I know about engineering. Taught me real good. My dad used to say that making tools wasn't mindless labor, but right and proper work. Not a job, but a calling. Those who answer the call empower others to create, and in so doing leave their mark on the world. If you just want to get by, go ahead and do whatever. That's what he said most people in the cities did. Most other preppers, for that matter. But if you want to live with purpose, if you want a legacy, you find yourself a calling. I think you've done just that. I mean, carrying stuff from place to place is one thing, but forging connections? Rebuilding a nation? If that's not a calling, I don't know what is. You and me, we get it. What we're doing really matters. All the more reason we'd better stay sharp.
Porter's coming through again. Hey, Sam, remember that porter I told you about? He came around again. Been by my old place. The one in the ruins, you know? As to the why, well, seems he's gone and snatched up some of my belongings. A musty set of work clothes I let slip and was pining for at our last meet. Wasn't proper to ask or anything, more of a be nice if I had him sort of thing. So I said it. The next thing I knew, he says he'll bring him back. I told him no, ain't nothing worth the hassle, no need to try and be another Sam, but he went and did it anyway. Came back in good hands, came back goods in hand, safe and sound. Thumbs down. He's not alone, though. Said he'd formed a team with another porter. One to keep watch for BTs, another to manage the cargo. Neither of them got dooms, but together they can almost manage as well as you. At least they did this time, eh? It's amazing what people can do when they put their minds to it, and when someone like you is around to provide inspiration.
Everybody's trying to be a hero. but
Yet
no
not
one
everyone can be.
Yeah, not everyone can port like Porter. Slaves to the wheat, the timefall farmer. Dear Sam, seems we've grown more wheat than we can harvest. More than a pot could handle even. Say, have you been making use of that new Ojodeck feature we shared with you? A friend of ours developed it, especially for us so that we could analyze the soil and choose the best spots for growing wheat. Ours got lost in the terrorist attack on Middle Knot City though. Still, we can definitely vouch for how useful it was. Be sure to give it a try if you haven't already. Anywho, we've been doing some light reading and try to figure out what to do with our bumper crop, and it turns out the history of wheat is really quite fascinating. Did you know it was originally a strain of grass native to the Middle East? That's right, but it wasn't until our ancestors began to cultivate it that it really came into its own. It turned hunters into farmers overnight, changing the evolution of mankind. Homo sapiens settled down in one place and stockpiled food rather than chasing it all over creation, and with stability came society, culture, religion, all courtesy of that little old wheat. But it wasn't a one-way street, oh no. Wheat made out like a bandit. That obscure Middle Eastern grass wound up spreading to all four corners of the globe. You could even say it was wheat that used us, not the other way around. In fact, some scholars say, just that, we became slaves to wheat. What do you think about that, Are we about to become slaves all over again? I sure hope not. Yeesh. Slaves to the grind.
That is not... The timefall farmer is not what I would call a noted after-dinner raconteur. How's my ladder working out for you? Hey, Sam, you find a use for that ladder I gave you? I built it with my own two hands, so it's one of a kind, not some run-of-the-mill gadget. For one thing, you've probably noticed this already. It's coated with chiral crystals. A little trick I picked up from my better half, as you might have guessed. Downside is that the coating renders it unprintable. Not that you'll ever have to fabricate a replacement, of course. We're talking super lightweight and timefall resistant to boot. It's the last ladder you'll ever need unless you lose it. You haven't, right? Anyway, let me know what you think, okay? Feedback is always welcome.
We still have it, right?
I totally used it.
All right. Mysteries of the Crater by Owen Southwick. So I read a report on a crater you threw that nuke into. Pretty interesting stuff. There's never been much volcanic activity in that sector, in that whole region, in fact. We don't have complete records from before the Stranding, so it's mostly speculation, but the report suggested that it might be a void-out crater that filled up with tar, that it might even be a conduit to the other side, which would mean that whatever you throw in there would wind up on the beach. But again, that's just speculation. Could be we don't understand a damn thing about the crater or the tar, or any of it.
Fuck off, Owen.
Damn.
It's just tar. Like, holy shit, guys. It's not anti-nuke juice. It's just a fucking tar pit. The amazing potential of hologram generators. I'm grateful to you, Sam. It really was you. Every time. Gotta say, joining the UC has opened up a real treasure trove of data, but it seems I'm not the only one who's got some new toys to play with. Have you given your Ojodeck's new hologram generator a try? It's pretty amazing. Not only do the grams look just like real rocks, they don't get picked up by mule scanners either. You can even use them for concealment. It's not unlike the technology and techniques we use to make old movies. Light and shade, optical illusions. But the level of realism is something else. I'll let you in on a little secret. I used a hologram generator to sneak into a mule encampment and shoot some footage.
Oh.
They had no idea I was there. It's amazing what kind of shots you can get when no one knows you're filming. In fact, I've decided I'm going to use the same technique to shoot a whole movie. I'm going to call it The Great Deliverer.
Damn.
Hey. I've already got you down for the starring role, Sam. You won't disappoint me, will you? Hey, film director, that's illegal, and you can't film people like that without their knowledge.
Pretty much.
And ninja shots are bad. Don't do it. Who's gonna get their actor points or their SAG fucking card if you if you don't let them know?
Freaking guild.
Or blur their faces out. That's fine.
The Great Deliverer delivers a mule beatdown. Hey Sam, I feel like I finally understand why they call you the Great Deliverer. After all, you're the one who dealt with the mules who were blocking the route between my shelter and Lake Knot City, right? I mean, you must have been. No one else could have managed that, especially all by themselves. I feel a bit pathetic, just cheering you on from the sidelines, but I guess that's all I can do. Good luck, Sam!
So I guess every time you do something specific, you get a little note about it.
A few props here and there.
Yeah. What do you think of the Chiral boots? There, Sam, thanks again for everything you've done for us. I've been wondering, how are those Chiral boots holding up? My daughter's the one who made them, in case you didn't know. I'm not too sure how they work myself. Something about a Chiral coating that makes them extra durable. Anyway, I'd be worried about Chiral contamination myself, to tell the truth, so I wouldn't blame you if you didn't wear them and just held on to them as a keepsake. Having said that, if I know anything about you, Sam, you're going to want to try them out at least once. You strike me as someone who has the values of practical over the ornamental. My daughter made several pairs like that, you know. She's really quite something, isn't she? Anyway, if you decide to take them for a spin, let me know how they treat you.
Okay, that's good.
This one I read to get his thing forward.
We used to have things called magazines. Back before the Stranding, there was a medium known as the magazine, a collection of articles and pictures printed on paper. Some magazines had hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of readers.
Like Famitsu.
At the height of their popularity, it wasn't rare for people to get all their information and news from them. Journalists and editors would collect data, conduct interviews, and compile them into weekly or monthly issues, and readers would devour them with relish. My own father was the editor of a popular magazine, one that published hints and strategies for beating popular video games. Sadly, not long before the Stranding, digital media rose to prominence, and that spelled the end for print publication. Thanks to the internet, anyone could produce content, and anyone could consume said content. People became their own editors, their own curators of truth, as it were. But my father was always one to swim against the tide, so he stuck with print, in spite of the writing on the wall, no pun intended. They called him the last editor in...
Famitsu. It was Famitsu. So we're talking about Famitsu magazine.
Over the years, he amassed a massive number of magazines and newspapers, all of which I was free to peruse growing up. After he passed away, I took up the mantle and continued expanding the collection. But now, in this post-Stranding world, we have the Chiral network. It is incredible technology. But will it be no different than the internet in the end? I, for one, have no desire to see it descend into a cesspool of abuse and misinformation. If nothing can be done to prevent that, then I want nothing to do with it. Thumbs out.
Bye, EGM.
Nah, we're done with that.
Game Pro. Edge. We used to have things called letters. Newspapers and magazines used to be published on a regular basis, once a month perhaps, in the case of newspapers, or every morning or evening. They were part of life's rhythm in my father's time. Some people's routines practically revolved around them, but no matter how much you yearned for the next issue, you had no choice but to wait patiently until it was published. It was the same with letters once. There was a time when you couldn't compose blah. There's a time when you couldn't just compose and send a message and have it delivered to the recipient almost instantaneously. No, you had to take up paper and pen and carefully write out your thoughts, which you then sealed in an envelope stuck in a post box, after which you had to wait for the postman to collect, process, and eventually deliver it. It might take days for some letters to reach their destination, longer even, if they had to travel through the sky or across the sea. And then, after all that waiting, you had no choice but to wait even longer for the reply. I can't help but thinking that might have been a good thing. Imagine spending your days waiting with bated breath, wondering what the postman might bring. What a beautiful exercise for the imagination. Well, I mean, waiting on an Amazon delivery is still pretty...
Oh, yeah.
You know.
You still get the same
It's a gift
boost.
to yourself, and it takes just long enough for you to forget about it.
Engelbert, a toast to a porter good and true. Did we read that one? Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, while playing. Peter North, thanks for saving our buddy. Sam, you showed up in the nick of time. I'd just about given up on our guy Langdon, but he's on the mend now thanks to you. Should be back to work before long, but in the meantime, I'll have to cover for him. Don't worry, he knows that he owes you his life. He'll probably be sending you a message to thank you himself soon enough. If I'm being honest though, it was his own damn fault. An old pro like him shouldn't be letting explosives slip by right under his nose. He should know how clever these damn terrorists are getting. Oh, and thanks for connecting us to the Chiral network. We're getting a lot more data from the outside world now, and that alone has given morale a pretty big boost. And the printer? It's the icing on the cake. Can't print everything though, of course. We'll be relying on you porters for a good while yet. Keep up the good work. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Like.
All right. Koji all over the place. What's going on with the interviews?
Oh, interesting.
The History of the Odradek by Hartman. Yeah, I love Hartman. Does the name Sigmund Freud mean anything to you?
God damn it.
We're going right to it. To the heart of the matter, says Hartman. He was a famous psychologist, the most famous of them all, perhaps, but I digress. Freud formulated one of his most famous theories after observing his grandson playing with a spool of thread. The boy would throw the spool under the bed, thus ensuring that he could not see it anymore. Then he would wind the thread in his hand, gradually pulling the spool back towards him until it became visible again. He repeated this process several times. It was apparently a game he played whenever his mother was elsewhere. Freud proposed that the process of concealing and rediscovering the spool was a coping mechanism, a way in which the boy could put his mind at ease. You see, the boy was in control of the spool. He could make it disappear and reappear at will. This helped him comprehend his mother's absence, not as something sudden or irrational, but as something controlled, and therefore not a cause for concern. A novelist, Franz Kafka, later coined the term for this spool of thread. Odradek.
Word?
Really? That was a Kafka term.
Wow.
Interesting. However, he conceived it as an object capable of speech and autonomous movement, a mysterious being neither dead nor alive. The Odradeks we use are perhaps not so different. These interfaces, through which we experience our BB's perception of their surroundings, are not unlike spools of thread. The connection between our world and the other side, the living and the dead, human and BB.
I did not expect that, actually.
You ever read The Metamorphosis?
No, I haven't.
It's fucked. TLDR, dude turns into a bug.
Yeah.
Shit's fucked. It's not great.
God.
But maybe that's why BB goes dark sometimes and you can't see it. And it's a bit obscured from vision, but then you can bring it back.
Reveals itself.
A little bit. Schrodinger's baby.
Of course, they had to start with Freud. Like, you'd be surprised how many people go through, like, social classes or, like, and every time that Freud comes up, they're like, oh, God damn it, not again.
Yeah,
I thought I was free from this shit.
Yeah.
But he's everywhere.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's funny, too, because I've talked to Punch Mom about it, and, like, a lot of stuff has come a long way since then, but it's so out there and, like, in the public sphere and of like, what psych is represented by. But, like, there's stuff that's since been, like, you know, de-emphasized, and like not everything is you trying to fuck your mom.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not everything is a dick. You know,
Yep.
there's a couple of different schools of thought, and it's come away. It's come quite a ways, but it's still the one that we go back to because at the end of the day, like some of the founding ideas came from him, and you know the stuff where you're even sitting down on the chair where you have the voice above your head. Like where they're sitting when you're doing a session,
yeah.
The voice is supposed to come from almost behind you to feel as if it's your own thoughts.
Oh,
you know, the positioning, all that stuff is like stuff that he pushed for.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so you know,
I bet he wanted to bang his mom.
yeah,
And he just rationalized it as best as he wanted to.
Yeah, think.
And was like, well, if I want to bang my mom, like I'm normal. So there must be a logic reason.
I mean, that's an oversimplification. Let's be real, but you know, it's not baseless that it's like you're as a child, your fucking your anxieties and the causes therein become major obsessions and guide your life down the path.
Yeah.
You know, because like look at the effect trauma has on anybody, right?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
anything startling will stick with you forever and
change you
and express
Might
it and
mold
express
you.
itself in ways that you can't really tell because it's domino 41, not domino 2
Yeah.
in the chain. But yes, it's not always that. But you know, there's ideas that are in that space. Maybe you don't want to fucking bed her, but maybe you're looking for a partner that's like her because of the
It's
things that she did or what she didn't do.
That person was nice.
You might be looking for those things. It's out there, yeah.
Hartman's near-death experience. Until relatively recently, death could only be studied from the perspective of an external observer, as the experience of one's own death could not be communicated to another. A collaborative investigation of the phenomenon was fundamentally impossible, but through the examination of subjects in near-death states and the cataloging of their experiences, we have at last been able to bring the scientific method to bear on this most final of frontiers. Even those in a state of so-called brain death exhibit signs of consciousness. What could this possibly mean? Moreover, why do some on the brink of death report out-of-body experiences? Furthermore, why do so many of those have such experiences describe the same sensations of being beckoned towards a distant light? Many had argued that these commonalities were evidence of an objective reality, of a place beyond life. If nothing else, they at least suggested that death was not an instantaneous change of states, but a process. The beach has since proven much of this beyond a doubt, and the dead rising again as BTs through necrosis demonstrate that this process is in action. The place beyond life is no longer a theoretical possibility. Its existence must be taken as incontrovertible fact.
So, I have read about and have heard about exactly why operating table situations and OBEs, out-of-body experiences, happen. And there's a couple of different, takes on it, but like one of the ones that was pretty interesting was that the way your brain starts to misfire, right, when you are slowly losing consciousness, is such that some of the things that shut down before you completely lose awareness are like things that like it's some of the similar things that that get emphasized when you get high, and including feeling like you're not connected to your body anymore.
Yeah.
Feeling like the environment, you don't know where you stop and the environment begins. You know how like some drugs do that?
Yeah.
Right. Like that similar sensation to being everywhere at the same time is also a part of it shuts down first before you actually completely go out, right? So you know how like if you wake up with sleep paralysis sometimes, you're awake, but your body has not yet woken up, so you can't move? It's a little bit of that, right? It's everything not shutting down at the same time. So something that shuts down is your ability to detect where your body ends and starts. Something that shuts down is your ability to detect where your consciousness sort of is like limited. It's not limited to where you are, so you kind of have this like I'm everywhere feeling.
Okay, so it's like your sympathetic and parasympathetic like system that's like not able to like analyze everything
as you're starting to pass out, right? And then the other thing is that your ability to take in light, right? It fades gradually so that the outer edges of your vision close in until the brightest focal point is the center point of your vision,
which is the only light you see in a
AKA
way.
The tunnel.
Okay. So there is a scientific...
You are literally experiencing an out-of-body experience, and you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel because light is not cutting off 100% as it goes top to bottom, or at the same time, it's slowly fading in from the outside in, like whatever. I forgot what the effect is called, but it's whatever. It's like and it's when the outside of a film is like it's like grainy and it gets darker and darker, and then you have the focal point in the center.
Okay.
That's your light at the end of the tunnel. That's your out-of-body experience in a scientific explanation in a half second. And I was like, that is so believably fascinating. I totally could wrap my head around that. Vignetting is the word I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Kevin Smith had some podcasts about him almost having his heart attack, and talking about that type of stuff as well. And
So he had an experience.
yeah,
like
he had
that.
like things like that. And he's like, he talked about his mom having it as well, and he's like, oh yeah, no, I totally get it. Like it's like after you come back and you're just like, I'm at peace, and I feel this whole thing because you're like, oh yeah, because the other thing that goes away is like a lot of your worries and concerns. Is like you have a moment where you just kind of like a lot of that disconnects from you. So your
You're
brain,
back and you're like, fuck it.
yeah, so when you're clinically dead, like your brain shuts down the processes one by one, but your memory and your eyesight are still going. So other parts of your brain are slowly shutting down, so you're perceiving what life is like with some of your brain turned off until you finally pass out and then are quote unquote clinically dead.
Yeah.
And then you wake back up later.
And you're like, this is what I
So
remember.
you remember the slow shutdown of all these processes, It's interesting. It's a really interesting way of thinking about it. And I like it as an explanation because it really does show you how like people weren't crazy for having the experiences they had, but they were definitely attributing them to things that they couldn't have understood without knowing how the brain works. I like that shit. I like when we find that kind of stuff out. Prepper shelters. Back before the Stranding, there was all kinds of companies selling in all kinds of shelters. Hurricane-proof, earthquake-proof, disease-proof, war-proof, terror-proof. We always had a recession-proof, probably had a recession-proof model for all I know. Anyway, you could picture it all going to hell. They had a shelter for it. Any of the guys building them? Military types, astronautical engineers, amateur enthusiasts. Everybody and his uncle was out to make a buck. But if you wanted something that'd actually last, you had yourself 3 solid choices. First, there was American Survival Shelter Units.
Your ass.
They were a global military hardware supplier, used to build government bunkers, nuclear shelters, all of that. They started selling to the general consumer right before the Stranding. Damn good timing, huh? Anyway, those babies were creme de la creme.
Suspicious.
Next, you had your Millennium Preppers. They made it big right after a string of terror attacks. Started out selling bank vaults and reinforced containers and the like. Wasn't hard for them to break into the shelter game. They knew how to build them tough. Then you had your domestic guys, World Safety Housing. All about affordability. They were cheap and cheerful. Well, as cheerful as anyone could be after the Stranding. Still, they got a lot of food and a lot of folks. Still did a lot of good for a lot of folks after things went to shit. So it sounds like a little Fallout style like situation going on with the bank vaults. Okay. Let's
all
see.
around it, memory chips.
We got one more. Oh, we didn't hand it in yet. Looks like it's another bike though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
There's a little logo there. It's cool.
Okay. No big deal. All right. That's a 0.5.
All right.
That's a 0.5.
And we got the middle of the map filled up a little bit more.
Yeah, let's
with
just
that weird little curve.
Let's just walk out of here so that we can be sure that nothing immediately happens.
Yeah.
You want to stay in an ass shelter?
I feel safe up in this ass.
It's got many chambers.
God damn. Oh, damn.
He's trying again.
Did he put the
He's
gun
pointing
on
it at
baby?
Yep.
Matt, come on, bro.
Oh. He got desperate after we fucked him up, maybe.
Oh, my God.
Or that's a memory from the past. What are you doing, brah?
Hey, Sam. I have some new info you should hear. Recently recovered thanks to your efforts to expand the chiral network. It concerns BBs. I dug this up on my own, just to be clear. No one ordered me to look. And if anyone asked, put it all on me. No need for you to deal with any blowback. You were just listening to me ramble on the wire, okay? Anyway, it looks like Bridges wasn't the first to bring back BB tech. It was a group of separatists. Terrorists opposed to UCA expansion, according to the records. They started using them about 3 years ago. Right around the time Bridges 1 was putting plans in place to head west. Seems these separatists were having trouble with BTs too, and figured that if they could track them, they might be able to steer them into our path. When Bridges caught wind of this, the decision was made to fight fire with fire, to start using BBs as a countermeasure. It's possible yours was commissioned for that very purpose, a fact I think someone may have tried to conceal, judging by the absence of BB-28's service record. I always found it strange that we were so willing to utilize technology we barely understood. Now we know why. We've been aping methods and techniques employed by others from the start. There's more you should know. It's about the original Bridge Baby experiments. Piecing together what little I could find, it looks like they started around the time of the Death Stranding. They were conducted on the island of Manhattan off the East Coast, which was completely and utterly obliterated by what was almost certainly a void out.
Oops.
Back then, these experiments had the full support and approval of the American government. It's all just guesswork, but I suspect the BB program was conceived to help gain a better understanding of the nature of the Death Stranding. However, due to ethical and safety concerns, public opinion was strongly against the program.
Oh shit.
Still, they pressed on, and in their desperation to make sense of the greatest disaster of their age, I think they caused another. I should also mention that the president himself was killed in the blast. It was after his death, when he was succeeded by then Vice President Strand, that the experiments were suspended by executive decree. Documents were shredded, facilities were decommissioned, and every effort was made to pretend that BBs had never even existed. Which begs the question how some random separatist group was capable of resurrecting the tech decades later. I'll let you know if I turn up anything enlightening.
Time travel.
Sam, check the delivery terminal and review the list of orders.
BBs were terrorist tech? I was
Yeah.
revived?
I want to reread that if I could.
Have a pressing problem that needs to be addressed. A tar-like substance has been bubbling up from beneath the ground near them.
Uh-oh.
They're seeing more of it by the minute, and it won't be long before it spreads into the city. There have already been reports of ejecta inside the outer walls.
Ejecta.
Nothing is done. The whole city might be swallowed by a sea of tar in the near future. There's an order from Mountain Knot City. Check the details on the delivery terminal.
Okay, back down there. This map is opening up, huh? We gotta... It's interesting, because I guess at some point I thought we'd be hitting the south and then leaving this region again.
Yeah.
And it's actually like... This is a whole bunch of the map, you know what I mean? Like, I thought we were going to be in for another chunk in the first island.
Yeah.
And it turns out we're like just continuing this one stretch, you know? So like all of this space over here probably opens up, come to think of it, right? Like if you're looking at like just the sheer size of everything.
Yeah.
So it's not as broken up as we thought, perhaps. Okay, so that's going to be for next time. And in the meantime, I can do some standard orders and figure out this place. Can I just take a look at that message one more? There's no log for that, huh? No. Oh well, okay. I just wanted to check. Oh wait, here we go. That's just a log of like things that happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh well, that's fine. I'll just check the footage itself.
Jeez.
Yeah, bro.
We are reusing terrorist technology.
And it turns out the terrorists were the ones to just... Well, actually no, because if president was doing it. Anyway, whoever decided to start fucking with babies as weapons first was an asshole and got what they had coming. And then the second person to start doing it was also an asshole. And they're going to get what they got coming. So, there you go. Is what it is. It's unethical, but what are you gonna what? Yeah, I saved it. Okay, we will probably have. I'll try not to go too hard on this area next time, but I'm gonna probably go pretty hard. Yeah. We'll see. We'll pick it up where we can.
Cool.